You idiot.
Oh my God. Hang on a minute. Where are you?
I'm now in the lounge room.
Oh, no, you. Where are you? Where
I'm
are
at
you?
home in my lounge. No, I'm at home in the lounge room. I left the swimming pool.
You left the swimming pool. Will you
Yeah, it was
settle
too
down?
hot.
I'm recording this. You do know that, don't you?
Yes, well, okay, that's okay. Right. I'm in your hands.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I did start recording earlier. I'm going to put a laughing emoji on here. I don't know if you actually get this. It's the first time I'm doing this. And I don't even know if this is actually going to work, Paul. I really don't know. It's the first time I'm doing a Zoom that I have actually instigated. Now, Councillor Paul Klisaris, welcome to the KK Factor once again, and congratulations.
Thank you, Rula. I don't know who's more excited, you or me.
I'm
Thank
really
you for the
excited.
invite.
I am very, very excited. I'm going to be running for the next one. I'm really, really excited that you're back. You have been one of these councillors, mayors, bouncy, bouncy, almost like the USA elections.
Jeez, I hope not. But look, it's certainly been an interesting 20 years, and I look forward to the next fall.
Yeah.
And everything that comes before that, because as you know, there's still a lot of challenges that we need to address, particularly around the issue of the pandemic and what it means for the community and how we support them. But look, really excited, delighted to be back. It's a new team. We've got more women on council this time round than we've had in the last 8 years, which is great.
Isn't that amazing? It's so amazing.
It is. It was important to get the gender balance right. It's a lot healthier. We could do better, but we welcome to the ranks 3 new women in Tina, Nikki, and Angelique. And that can only be a good thing for good governance.
Isn't that great? I'm so proud to hear that, because women are stepping up, starting from local council, and I'm hoping to see them also continue to strive high, and to do great things, and working as a team with you as well. So it's great, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
The USA elections. What does it mean to you? I mean, at the end of the day, I have never seen such an election being so dominating through our mainstream media, all the channels. I mean, here you are listening 1 minute to our Premier or our Prime Minister, next thing it gets shut down, or one of the Premiers of Australia gets shut down because Team Trump or Team Biden or someone's on there doing a live, and it's mind-blowing of how Australia is so involved in this election.
Well, you make a good point, and it's not just Australia. The whole world is watching. The last 4 years have been, what's a word we could look for? I suppose for many, very traumatic, very unstabilizing. We had a president who certainly had his own style and rubbed many nations the wrong way.
But we can say he did do a few positive things. We can't take away the positives. I mean, let's face it, with all presidents, there's going to be corruption, there's going to be conspiracies, there's going to be lies, there's going to be this and that. But all of them, if we look back at history, I'm sure many of us will be able to say at least one thing they did good for the nation or for the world or for their own country. So I don't want to take that completely away from Trump, because a lot of people have followed Trump. A lot of people in Australia, Victoria, followed Trump and wanted Trump for their own reasons. So he has done some good, which has left an impact, but it's just ironic of how it's affected. Let's focus on Australia at the moment, or let's focus on Victoria. It's affected Victoria. It's like our whole life depends on who the next president is going to be, and everyone's got their own thoughts behind it. And yet it really should be more about who's running our country, who's our premier running our state, and yet there's been this huge emphasis on the USA. And now Biden, so we've got to congratulate Biden. He's won it, and he's got the deputy behind him, Harris. I think we're going to probably see some big things come out of her over the next 6 to 12 months and so forth. And a lot of the politicians here in Victoria do support Biden. We know the Premier of the state here supports Biden. He did meet up with Biden when he came to Australia. They did talk about the cancer. So that's one topic that they both have passion about. So what are your thoughts?
Well, for me, and I think for most, the measure of a good leader, whether it's in the political sphere or in business or just in general life, the measure of a good leader is one that brings people together and doesn't divide people. For any good that Trump may or may have not achieved, it all gets unstuck and undone when we look at the divisiveness of his country and the knock-on effects that's had globally. So, look, he had his go. The people have spoken, and that's democracy. He needs now to leave gracefully. Up to now, he's resisting any of that.
Do you think he's going to leave gracefully? I mean, it is Trump we're talking about. We're talking about a very passionate businessman. He's not a politician. He's a businessman. So his whole focus has been about money. Do you think he'll leave graceful? Do you think he'll leave without unturning every last stone?
Look, when we look at it historically, no, he will go kicking and screaming. But let's just live with the hope that he finds some grace, because the next couple of months, or the next few days, in fact, will really mark him according to his legacy and what he leaves behind. So we can only hope. But you're right. Historically, that's not his mantra. That's not how he does things. He crash and burn kind of guy. But I hope he does. But look, I go back to the main point, Ruler, and that is the people of America, of the United States, have spoken, and we respect that. He needs to respect the voice of the people and do the right thing.
Do you think Biden might take some chapters out of Trump's book? I mean, I understand everyone is different. I understand they're going to have their own style, but obviously Biden will also be looking at the people that have respected and have wanted Trump and wanted to see Trump for the next 4 years. So do you think from that angle, Biden might actually look and see, okay, what is it that that community want or don't want to lose, and is there something I can do in moving forward to also capture them as well and have them support me 100%?
One of the first things that Biden said, and he has said it now repeatedly, is that he will govern for all. He will govern for those that voted for him and those that didn't vote for him. I mean, they're very powerful words.
They are very powerful words, yes.
And ultimately, Ruler, he will be judged by how he governs in 4 years' time. But as it stands now, he's made that commitment. The first thing he needs to do for his country is get the pandemic under control. 10 million Americans have been infected. Over 240,000 have lost their lives, and we're still counting. They have a daily infected rate of over 120,000 people a day. This has gone beyond the crisis. Action needs to be taken. So I think the president-elect has got a big job ahead of him.
He does have a big job.
Yes, absolutely. So the first 100 days are going to be crucial. He needs to get the pandemic under some normality, under some control, then focus on the things that are important to him and his people. Healthcare, affordable healthcare, accessible universal healthcare for all Americans.
Well, Obama put in the Obamacare. Is that right? Did I get that one right?
That's right. Yep.
So we've got some form of healthcare there, but obviously there's also a group from the Trump supporters that don't believe in that healthcare. So again, I'm going to go back to, will Biden look at that part of the community and expand on the healthcare that's there, or see where the loopholes are, or why a lot of people are not happy with that healthcare?
Well, Rula, I think the first challenge he has is to capture the 90 million people that today have no healthcare. There's 90 million Americans who don't have any form of healthcare.
Or affordable healthcare?
No, none.
None.
Rula,
Okay.
none. Now, so that in itself is a crisis and a sad indictment on this nation, the most powerful country in the world, arguably the strongest economy, arguably, has a health system that is discriminatory. It ranks people according to class and affordability, and we have today 90 million Americans who are missing out. So if he can improve that somewhat, I think he'll go a long way. I think some of the things that were being spruiked by the Republicans and certainly by Trump throughout this campaign are misleading. The fact, there's a clear divide in the camps on how they should approach healthcare in the US. For the Republicans, it's a user pay system. Those who can pay can have it. Whereas we all historically, whether you're a Democrat or in the Labor Party, we believe in universal healthcare for all, irrespective of class.
Okay, we're going back to the pandemic, which is the crucial thing now that'll make or break the new president of the US, and how he's going to help the people in moving forward. Now, we know that Dr. Fauci has highly recognised our Premier here of the state, Victoria, because of the way he has crushed the numbers down. We've had, obviously today, 9 consecutive days of no new cases, and the world is watching us and are trying to implement what our Premier has implemented here. Do you believe that in moving forward, Biden may be looking at what his buddy here in Australia, Victoria, has done, and put some of those restrictions in place, but bearing in mind that we've still got millions of people that don't want the lockdowns? I mean, we've had them here in Victoria. We've had issues with that here in Victoria, not to that extent or those numbers, but in the USA, it's far more greater. Will Biden be able to put some restrictions in place to crush those numbers, but more importantly, reduce the deaths that are happening daily now that we hear about?
So, Rula, the first thing we need to acknowledge is that as difficult as the enforcement regime was in Victoria, as difficult as those lockdowns were, they were the right approach. It was the right approach, and it's been proven so. We've become the envy of the world.
We
as
have.
As difficult as it was, Rula, and I've been in business for 25 years, it impacted on my business, it impacted on my mental state, and a lot of people struggled.
Correct. Everyone has struggled or suffered in different ways, and there's people that have lost lots of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Rula, money lost can be money gained. Lives lost are lives gone forever.
Correct. And let's go back to also in the early 90s. We already went through a recession. There were people that lost, and that recession was when the interest rates hit to 19% and over. We had people that, there were suicide rates. I mean, but they weren't as emphasized as what they are now. There was the increase in mental illness. There were people that lost their homes. There were people that lost their businesses. But those that stayed strong did rebuild. But that was a long time ago, and many people today are not reflecting on that, and so they've got that fear that we're not going to be able to rebuild our economy. But it has been proven that we can rebuild and come out of a recession. But like you said, lives lost we cannot bring back.
Exactly. And look, the economy is already bouncing back. Victoria is tipped to hit 95% of its economic strength within weeks. That's the first thing. It was all levels of government came together to support our people. The federal government supported us through JobKeeper, JobSeeker. They supported small businesses. The Victorian government did the same with its packages to small businesses. It's increased spend in mental health services, as did the feds. So there were a raft of measures that were put in place, fiscal measures, financial measures that were put in place to support us. Was it difficult? Yes, it was. But look where we are today, Ruler. Now, to go back to the United States, and what will Biden be doing? We know that Biden has already convened a committee of 12 people. He's got Dr. Fauci back inside the tent. We know that he's going to listen to the science. I'm sure he's looking globally to see what the rest of the world is doing to try and, suppress this awful thing that we're all living. It's a nightmare. The difficulty for him is that he's starting from such a long way back.
Yes.
Because we had a president in Trump who was in denial, who did not believe it. In his own words, he thought it was a hoax. So Biden has his hands full. It would have
but
to
you
be
know what?
done
I'm going to interrupt you there I'm just going to interrupt you there. Just going back to Trump and believing it was a hoax. But then he came out and said he caught the virus. We saw him fight hard, even through the hospital rooms. He was still fighting for his campaign. He came out of it. A lot of people were concerned about his health because of his other underlying health matters and stuff. He kept it quiet about his family, but that all came out that the whole family, including his young son, also had it. So he once denied it, and now it was reality. Do you think that... I'll ask the question. Do you think him deny it was a way of him to suppress any form of panic within his country, and that's the technique he used? Or do you legitimately believe that he didn't believe it at all, because then he came out and said, it is here. And, I lived through it and I've come out the other side. I mean, it's similar to when the pandemic hit here. We had misinformation about, for example, masks. Masks don't work, and then masks work, and then masks don't work, and then masks work. And it drove the people insane. What are your thoughts?
Rula, whether it's a pandemic or any other issue, denying that something is happening will not make it go away, unfortunately.
No, and it won't make a difference to any law or restrictions or decisions made by any government party.
The reality is that under his administration, Trump's administration, there was denial, there was pushback, there was lack of support for the states, the governors. He clearly continuously talked about the red states and the blue states and tried to make that an issue. His handling of the pandemic is shameful. There's no other way of putting it. You can't dress it up any other way, Ruler. I'm sorry.
I understand, and I respect what you're saying.
You can't defend how he's handled the pandemic. If we want to talk about the American economy and some of the other things that he's done, okay. But
he has done great there, but we're talking about the issue of the pandemic. That's right.
On this issue, it tears down any good that he may or may not have achieved in the last 4 years. So there's lessons there. In terms of masks on, masks off, this pandemic, as it's evolved, as we've got to know more about it and how it spreads and how it stays in the air, and as we've seen, it's not just in the air, it's in our water, it's in the food. It doesn't discriminate.
That's exactly right.
As we've learned more, we've adjusted and tweaked our approach to it. Masks do work. Masks should stay for as long as they're required. But the bottom line is this: we have health experts. We have chief health officers. We should listen to them. They're the people in the know. Take their advice and act accordingly. That's what it's proven. We've proven it in Victoria.
We are proven. And I sit back and I sometimes wonder, Australia is this island. We're surrounded by water. It got into our land. We can crush it. If we work hard, we can maintain it and keep it down and even eliminate it. But elimination will be very, very difficult because, let's face it, the virus is still coming in from overseas. It stops at the borders, it stops at the airport, and the incoming travellers are made to quarantine. They've put the hotel quarantine program back in place and emphasised it again. Self-isolation at home. Yes, look, I've read the interim report with the recommendations to use bracelets. I know a lot of people may not like them, but if we look back at what happened previously with people leaving their homes and not being able to control it, and we can blame the contact tracing team, we can blame all that, but we've also got to take some responsibility. So if we've got our contact tracing up to scratch, and if we've got our borders and control the borders up to scratch, if we're adhering and maintaining incoming travellers and putting them where they need to be placed, and those in self-isolation at home, we have to control that. We need to put the bracelets, because we as the people may slip. You know, we don't like to be at home, but the fact is there is a virus out there. So if all that is in place, then there's no reason why we can't stop or eliminate that virus. And then in the next wave, because obviously there's predictions now that the next wave may hit in March next year, because that's the pattern we're seeing overseas after the summer period, you know, goes away. Why should that virus come back into our country if we maintain everything that has been put in place now and the recommendations through the Coates inquiry, and which is now written in the interim report?
So all those points you make are accurate. So the onus now is on us. The onus is on the people to continue doing the right thing. Unfortunately, Ruler, as I make my way through our community and, you know, go on my daily walks and, you know, go to do some shopping for home or for the business, I'm seeing complacency slip in, unfortunately. The Premier today spoke about that. We can't let our guard down, because we will face a third wave. So until there's until there's an antidote for this virus, until we get something to immune us, we're going to have to continue to be careful, adhere to all the restrictions, and we will get through it. Okay, we will get through it. However, I don't quite agree that March is, you know, a month that, you know, could plunge us back where we came from, because unlike Europe, which relaxed everything in summer, there were no border checks, there were no health checks. People were free to go back and forth. We all heard the stories. The Greek islands were booming. You know, Europe was flying. And look at them now. They are a mess. We're not going to do that. We're not going to allow ourselves to make those mistakes. That's why Dr. Fauci has looked to Victoria and more broadly to Australia as the model of how to do it. Look, borders are going to have to open. International travel will have to return. However, if we do it carefully, if we do it with the right measures in place, and I have no doubt that we will able to contain it. Are we going to be able to eliminate it? I'm not that optimistic. I'm not optimistic about elimination. However, suppression and containing it is great, and we're demonstrating it on a daily basis. 0 cases again today, 0 deaths in Victoria. I think that's 9 days straight.
9 days straight. It's a wonderful accomplishment, because many did not believe we could do it. Many thought it was ridiculous to even think about being 0 consecutive in Victoria. And we still do have the community in Victoria where, you know, you've got these conspiracy theories. We've got people who've got their other fears. They're getting, they're researching the wrong websites from overseas. They're not really focusing here in Victoria, and there's fears. I mean, there was even one which was actually funny, where they were saying that if Biden wins, you know, our Premier is going to lock down Australia, is going to lock down Victoria, and he can't lock down Australia because he's not the Prime Minister. But this is their train of thought. This was what was put into their minds, that we were going to completely go into lockdown, and then he may even resign. And they had this fear. And hence, you know, they needed Trump to win. And I know many of them today have still got that fear and are clinging on to what's going to happen next. And it's really, it's sad that our society here in Victoria, for whatever reason, has this sort of things in their minds. Like, where is it coming from?
Look, I can't comment about those things that you've just outlaid. I don't believe in conspiracies. I believe in the science and the facts. I have every faith in our leaders, whether it's at the federal level or the state level, that they're doing the right thing. And I make the point again, we just have to look at the track record of Victoria and our country, where we've got pretty much 0 cases in every state. Yes, there'll be the odd case that will pop up, but we've contained the virus. People do not need to fear about a Biden administration. You know,
I mean, yeah, that's right. I mean, we are in Victoria. I mean, seriously, we are in Australia.
I'm sorry. That's silly talk.
Okay. On that note, once again, congratulations to you. I'm sure we're going to be seeing some great things. Is there anything you can maybe tell us that we might see come out of you in this new role that you've been reappointed in?
Well, look, we've got a lot of things on the agenda. As I said at the start of our interview, I want to continue supporting the community through whichever measures we can to ease the burden on them, whether it be more rate discounts, because Monash was the first and only council to offer a 10% discount on rates over the next 12 months. Do we need to extend that? If we need to, I'll support that. We've got a $3.5 million community kinder hub ready to be rolled out or built. Anyway, go to tender, I should say, in the Mulgrave area. We have a lot of work to do, but front of mind will be how we support our community as we get through this pandemic and any challenges that it throws before us.
Thank you so much, Councillor Klisaris, once again, and I look forward to catching you for a coffee. I was hoping today to see you half naked by your pool, which is exactly where you told me you were when we did initially talk today about this Zoom, but you chose to go inside and put on a trendy t-shirt and change the backdrop. I'm sure there were many female councillors waiting to see what Councillor Klisaris looks like. No, I'm joking.
I think it's best that Councillor Klisaris leaves his clothes on.
You're the best. You're the best. You've got a great personality. We love you and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, madam. Cheers now.
Bye.
Thank you.